My review of the GTX 1060 is a little delayed due to the fact that I had my tonsils removed last week. But without further ado, here it is, the MSI Gaming X GTX 1060. On the outside, it looks identical to the 1070 Gaming X that I reviewed a few weeks back, but let's find out what's under the hood. Let's start with the looks of this 1060 first. We have the standard Gaming X red and black design scheme with LEDs that illuminate the red portions on the front of the shroud and an RGB LED MSI logo on the side of the card. I already criticized this implementation of RGB in my GTX 1070 review, so I won't rehash that argument here. The lighting scheme is still part of MSI's Mystic Light setup, which can be controlled with MSI's gaming app and allows you to configure all of your MSI devices' colors together. This dual slot card features MSI's Twin Frozr VI cooling setup, complete with quadruple copper heat pipes and Torx 2.0 fans, which feature a steeper blade curve. This card's fans stay off below 60 degrees Celsius, but even under an extended gaming load, my GTX 1060 never hit above 63 degrees. Yes, only 63 degrees, with a max fan speed of 37%. Regardless of whatever aesthetic comment you may have on the way MSI's Twin Frozr VI appears, it can't be denied that it is one of the best air coolers on the market for a GPU. The custom PCB for the Gaming X is significantly larger than a stock GTX 1060, which MSI claims is for better cooling performance. The card also features a GPU support bracket that runs along the top and covers the spot where the recently absent SLI fingers are typically placed. Behind the support bracket, you'll find a full-length anodized aluminum backplate with a subtle imprinted dragon. With regards to power consumption, the Gaming X 1060 features a singular 8-pin PCIe power connector and had my system drawing between 180 and 200 watts from the wall during typical gaming sessions, with a peak wall draw of 222 watts for my entire system. Getting to the GP106 chip itself in the Gaming X, MSI features 3 different modes for the card that each boast different core and memory clocks. I'm actually pretty baffled here as to why the distinction for each mode is implemented. The Twin Frozr VI setup is perfectly capable of handling the cooling needs of even the highest of settings in the card, so it seems odd that MSI doesn't just have the card shipped with its highest clock settings and just called it a day. Like, why does there need to be a silent mode? The card is already really silent. Regardless of this oddity, all of my testing was done with the OC mode active, which comes with a base clock of 1594 MHz and a boost of 1809 MHz on the GP106 chip. The card features the GTX 1060 standard 1280 CUDA cores, half of the GTX 1080, and 20% more than the GTX 960. This Gaming X is the 6GB VRAM model, which has a 192-bit bus with the OC mode on the card pushing 8.1 GHz. Due to GPU Boost 3.0, even though the quoted boost clock is 1809, my card had a stable in-game clock between 1987 MHz and a full 2 GHz, likely aided by the Gaming X's tremendous ability to keep cool under load. Now, time for benchmarks. The Gaming X 1060 kills most games at 1080p, providing enough headroom for high refresh rate monitors. 1440p comes close to 60 FPS in most games at the highest detail settings. Compared to the reference RX 480, the 1060 had roughly 5 to 10 FPS gains in most titles. Quick note about the Doom benchmark. It was run on OpenGL 4.5, mainly because I don't have any comparison data currently for other cards on the Vulkan API. So the GTX 1060 may be the low-end GPU king at this point, handily beating the RX 480 in basically every game in my testing suite. However, pure frame rate data isn't the only thing to consider when pitting these cards against one another. The race at the bottom of the stack usually, for me especially, comes down to the value that the card can provide. Price per frame rate data puts the Gaming X 1060 as a worse value than a reference RX 480 8GB edition in basically every game, with both United States pricing as well as South African pricing. Here's what I can conclude from my time with this GPU. The Gaming X series of cards by MSI are a solid brand to pick up for any version of the new generation of GPUs that have been released, whether it's Pascal or Polaris. If you're looking at getting a 1060, the Gaming X will likely provide close to the quietest and most powerful cooler that you could want. As far as the value of the GTX 1060 versus other new GPUs on the market, at its current price point of $300 or 6,000 Rand here in South Africa, it's put in an awkward position. It's definitively better than the RX 480 at the moment in terms of frame rates, but not priced well enough, in my opinion, to push the RX 480 out of the market completely. I think my conclusion is basically comes down to this. The GTX 1060 isn't a replacement for the RX 480. It's the step up from the RX 480. However, as is usually the case with getting the best card in a category, that is here entry-level gaming cards, there's a price premium. And it seems that Nvidia is positioning itself there rather than trying to compete on value alone. If aftermarket cards like the Gaming X can come down closer to the suggested retail price of $250, that would put a lot more pressure on the $240 8GB RX 480. But as it stands now, I would say that the RX 480 and the GTX 1060 are in separate categories. And with that conclusion, I would like to thank MSI South Africa for sending this card over for review. Woo, stay still. Like this video if you found it helpful at all. Dislike it if you disagree with me or my conclusions. You can subscribe to stay up to date on all of my tech-related content. And please forgive me if I didn't sound 100% in this video. I'm still trying to recover from my surgery, but I wanted to get this review out as soon as possible. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.